Hello and welcome into the KE Report. I'm your host, Shad Markwitz, and today we're getting an update on Talisker Resources. Talisker is traded on the TSX under the ticker TSK and on the OTCQX under the ticker TSKFF. And I'm joined today with the president and CEO of Talisker Resources, Terry Harbort. And Terry, it's great to get you back on the show. We just chatted last month and we celebrated the first official gold pour, the big milestone for the company. And you put out some news to the marketplace just last week on the 9th of October, talking about month two here, the second month of gold production from your Mustang Mine. This is in British Columbia, and you are trucking it over the ore to Nicola Mining's Craigmont mill. Now, in the first month when we talked last time, you'd produced 707 ounces of gold. Since then, you produced another 862 ounces the second month. That brings the total up to 1,569 ounces so far. Talk to us about how things are going with production, where you're producing from, just a basic update, Terry.
Hi, Shad. Always a pleasure to be on. Yes, look, things are going according to the plan. We've always planned here that we'd start slow and steady and get things organised, and then slowly pass the ramp up. So we started in the early days at about 100 tonnes per day. We've sort of increased that production rate. We're somewhere in the realm of 250, some days up to 300 tonnes per day. Our early material that we were bringing out was development ore, and I think we discussed that. So that's where we do 3x3 development along the veins. And we started at the 1060, 1075, and we've kept going on to 1090, 1105, and 1120. So about five levels that we've developed on. What's exciting now is that we're starting to move stope material, so that's higher grade material. So the earlier stuff was diluted out to 3 meters, so we could get access there. And now we're mining or stoping in between the levels. So we've mined out 3 stopes between the 1060 and the 1075 level, and they've been trucked to Nicola, and I think they're in process of being milled right now. And we're currently mining a series of 5 stopes between the 1075 and the 1090 level. So what we expect to see here is it will again gradually increase those number of ounces that are coming out and increase our revenue. I think it's about $5 million so far that we've generated in these first couple of months. So we're on track according to our plan and according to our pathway.
Well, it's exciting to see it happening. It's just exciting to see gold being produced and revenues being generated. But I think it's going to be more exciting when we see some of that stope material get processed. Like you say, the higher grade material, less dilution. Now, out of all those different levels you're on, the 4 to 5 levels in the mine, is there one in particular that you see as being either higher grade, more substantive, or maybe a bigger vein material? Is there one that really stands out, or is it just a nice mix of all of them?
Yes, we're really focused on the Alhambra vein, which is one of the larger and higher grade veins, some very high grade ore shoots there. It's been a fairly consistent producer, and we're currently developing now below the 1060 to get down to the 2 levels below there, the 1045 and the 1030. And really the focus is on that Alhambra vein. We do have some lateral development on the other 2 veins there, the BK vein and the BK 9870 vein, particularly in the higher levels there. So the 1105 and 1120, there are some very good intercepts of those veins. But mainly the focus is on that Alhambra, which is really a high grade, very consistent vein. And it was always our decision point to start there because we wanted to minimize our risk. And that was always a very consistent grade and consistent continuity.
Well, we have talked a little bit about that Alhambra vein, and we've even talked about the BK vein last time. So nice to see some of that work drifting into those at different levels and the high grade material. You even mentioned last time, Terry, that when you did some blast, you could see the visible gold in it. So definitely exciting time for the company. Let's break down a little bit more about how you're increasing the throughput. Like you say, it's a ramp up process. You were starting at about 100 to 150. Now you're up to 250 to 300. What does it look like as you continue to truck ore over to the Craigmont mill, and what are the limits of what you can actually do as far as the upside of what the goal is you're shooting after here?
Yeah, look, so obviously with a milling partner, we have some constraints to how much material we can send and process. Nicola's current permits for 200 tons per day. The milling capacity there, can probably stretch to about 250. Our material, our quartz vein material's got what's called a low work index, so it grinds easily. So in that case, it's suitable for the mill to process more than what its nameplate is because the material's a bit softer or grinds up a bit easier. As we've discussed with market and some pretty good results, our midterm is to bring in an ore sorter. We're working on that process there, looking at the facility design and the purchase of that equipment. And we expect sort of to have it in around April, so sometime in Q2. We're expecting there that'll allow us to double our rate, so halve what we can truck and double the grade of that material. It works by removing the waste material, so it allows us to just truck the high grade ore out of the high grade veins. So that'll be able to increase that rate up. We're currently putting in an amendment to our permit to increase to 500 tons per day. We expect that'll be in the ramp up plan and we'll be at 500 somewhere in third quarter of this year. And then we'll look to be able to continue that ramp up towards 750 and then 1,000 tons per day towards the end of 26 and into 2027.
All right, so there's part of the ramp up process, and then obviously the upgrading process using ore sorting, where even if you took the same amount of material, like you say, you'll have upgraded the grade to double what it is now because you're reducing the waste. So you'll have grade driven growth. I just have a question though, if the limits of the Craigmont mill are kind of where they're at now, even if you increase the throughput, obviously you can still send the same amount of weight of material, but if it's higher grade, that would help. But we also hear reports that Blue Lagoon is starting their processing there. It doesn't seem like there would be room to accept more ore at present if you're processing at their limit. So could you maybe speak about any potential bottlenecks at the Craigmont mill?
Yeah, absolutely, Shad. There's been some quite promotional press releases put out by Blue Lagoon insinuating that they have preference in processing. And what I can clearly say is that is not the case. We have an active contract, we're actively trucking, we're delivering consistent ore, 250 tons per day. Those guys haven't started. They are only planning on mining 100 tons per day. They're trucking at 1,000 kilometers. I'm sure they can truck and stockpile, but you'd have to ask the question from Nicola, why would they stop receiving consistent production of 200 to 250 a day to process half that? Is the question that we'd have to ask. And I think the simple answer to that is it'd be suicide for Nicola to stop processing our ore and take somebody else's. Why on earth would they do it? Now, look, we're very happy for Blue Lagoon to truck their ore and stockpile at its site. And if it comes that we can't supply ore and Nicola has to go through and scrub the system out to remove our ore and start processing those, and that's their business decision. I can't really understand why they would choose to do that when they have a consistent supply of material that takes their equipment to a maximum processing potential. I've been very open that we're looking for facilities beyond Nicola. So once we hit their maximal capacity, having somewhere else that we can send it. And Nicola is certainly working towards increasing their production rate. I think Peter's publicly stated that he's working towards taking it to 600 tons per day. Now, at this stage, we don't know the timeline on that, and we can't depend on that timeline, so we need to look for other options. And part of that option is bring in the ore sorter, so we can actually mine more material but send the same. So mine 500 tons a day and send 250 tons per day. So I can't really answer to the questions of what Blue Lagoon has stated in their press releases. Simply that I believe it's incorrect. considering the agreement that we currently have and are currently milling with. And I think it'd be suicide for Nicola to stop processing our ore and process a half to a third of that with somebody else.
Yeah, it makes sense. I appreciate you just addressing the issue and the concern. And just as you talked about ramping up the production, nice to hear that you're also looking at even expanding to other mills in the area. So definitely some options on the table with the ore sorting to send the same amount but upgrade it, but then also possibly look at even expanding beyond that. So let's talk about what's on tap as we get into the third month and as we look forward. Give us any other key news that you want people following along with, and is there any exploration going on to continue to look for new high-grade zones?
Well, Shad, we're really taking advantage of the current gold market and looking to really secure our future here as one of the most significant gold producers in Western Canada. We'll be starting very soon here in November our development across to Bralorne West that'll open up 5 veins. We'll be doing 2 spiral declines there, so basically opening up 16 to 20 operational faces, developing 2 spiral declines. So really building that infrastructure future for the next 3 to 5 years. There's ongoing drilling there in that Bralorne West, converting that material into indicated, and we're finalising some of the engineering work now, looking at the development of our second mine, which will be the Olympus mine. Olympus will sit about 2.5 kilometres to the southeast of where we're currently mining. So we're building a very strong pathway here for growth and a very strong pathway to grow our production rate.
All right, so growth with the development over into Bralorne West and accessing those high-grade veins, and then also mine number 2 with Olympus gearing up. So a lot of growth on tap for the company, a lot of news on tap for the company. So for those of you listening in, if you want to keep abreast of it, follow along with all the news, definitely click on the link below in the show notes. It takes you right over to the Talisker Resources website, straight to their news section where you can sign up for updates that hit your email inbox or just follow along with the news updates as they drop. Terry, keep us posted. We'll get you back on soon. And as always, looking forward to our next conversation.
Thanks very much, Shade.